Hey everybody, welcome. Great to have you here. Right, yeah, I guess we're live. Fantastic. Alrighty, so this is about the shift and it's about what on earth is happening on Earth at this time in consciousness and energy. Coming to you live from Bali, from Ubud, the famous place made famous in some ways by Eat, Pray, Love book by Elizabeth Gilbert. And yeah, it is known to be a place of purification. And Robert Kuhn's work, who's the Glastonbury visionary, he firmly positioned Bali as this kind of crossing point between these two serpent energy lines that go around the planet, also going through other powerful places like Mount Kailash and Glastonbury, funnily enough, in England, which is what my book is about. By the way, if you want my book, just put your hand up. I've got some copies which are digital and you can get them from me here. Just send me a message and I'll sort you out with a digital copy. And if you get on this live, then you'll get it for half price. How about that? Not bad. So, yes, the shift is happening. We're in 2025, almost halfway through it. AI is kind of taking over, but yes and no kind of thing. And the invitation, I believe, for us all is to double down in our own consciousness and our organic consciousness, to meditate, to open the heart, to live from the heart, to live from our deepest, greatest truth. And we can do that by speaking our truth and by sharing our magic with the world, sharing our medicine with the world. You, as a conscious being on this planet, have an impact, you have an effect, your words have an impact, your consciousness has an impact. And the more we all raise our consciousness and the more we all share vulnerably and transparently what is actually real for us, then the more we can shift the timeline in the favor of humanity and away from the kind of AI God that appears to be gaining ground in many ways. And this is a big subject, of course, which I'll only just scratch the surface off here. But there is, let's say, there is information to suggest that there is a negative kind of influence. Rudolf Steiner talked about it as the Ahriman influence. You call it the Antichrist, you call it what you like, where the technology, AI frequency kind of wants to take over, but we get to double down on our authentic truth and our light and our consciousness and live from the heart. And that's where the magic happens, everyone. So we've got, wars kicking off around the world or going on, Ukraine, Russia, of course, Gaza, very difficult situation there. Genocide happening, war crimes happening on a daily basis. And then we've got India and Pakistan, which don't know what the current status is, but it's looking pretty wobbly. And who knows? So there's a lot of maelstrom and conflict going on. And then also crazy stuff that's happening in the US, the UK, Europe as well. Erosion of civil liberties, a lot of dystopian things happening, people being censored left, right, and center. And, you could also say that big tech is part of this because there is a narrative that they are in bed with. And yet consciousness is growing and expanding. And it, in some ways, can it be stopped? Can it be stopped? So this is what I wanted to talk about, really, this shift, this big shift. Many of us are aware of the planetary awakening in consciousness that is happening, has been happening for a while now. You could say decades, maybe even 100 years or plus. We can look at that in terms of the yugas in the Indian Vedic tradition of the change in cycles as we, as a planet and as the solar system, move through the galactic plane. That's one way to look at it. We're being also pulsed by energy coming from the center of the galaxy, which is possibly the reason for the solar flares and the coronal mass ejections. Now, is this about amping up the frequency of our consciousness as a collective, as a planet? Who are we really as humanity? Are we just ants, insignificant ants on the surface of a lonely planet in a cosmos with no intelligent life? Or are we at the center of some incredible phenomena of consciousness that is happening? That is something that I love thinking about. You may love thinking about that too. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. And also, by the way, I have a group called the Golden Alchemy Awakening that you might want to join, where I share insights in there. And my intention is to create more of a community in there and discussion around awakening. And so you're welcome to join. There is a link I put here. So many of us are wondering, what on earth is going on? And we've got this kind of disparity in the world, many losing their jobs. Apparently 300 million jobs are going to go in the next couple of years due to the influence of AI. But is this an opportunity? An opportunity for consciousness, for expansion, for us to level up as humans, as human beings, as souls incarnate, right? As light, and take our place as conscious beings, as a humanity that is awake and awakening, and have impact amongst the craziness, and to stand in what we know is true, stand in what we believe in. And I believe this is the case, that we are being offered a massive opportunity for expansion, for growth on a personal level, on a personal evolution level, as well as on a collective level. And that each one of us can share our light more and more each day and have a wonderful impact when we speak our truth, when we live our truth. One of the ways I'm doing that is writing books. I've got the Avalon Revelations, which is out, and I'm writing another book called Back to Spirit, which is about consciousness awakening and detailing my own journey, and also offering tools and resources for others to navigate consciousness expansion, awakening, wherever we are on our journey, wherever we find ourselves as seekers, as initiates on the path, as souls remembering who we really are and reclaiming our power, our immense infinite power as individuations of source. When I say source, can be another way for you to think about God or Goddess or Allah or Krishna or the light, the supreme being, which I believe we are all unique individuations of. Also, if anyone has anything they'd like to share, like questions or anything else, I can tune in and read for you if that's something that is alive for you. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of be visible, come on here, show up, talk about what I'm in love with, the shift, what I'm in love with, consciousness, what I'm in love with, energy, and also a couple of passions of mine, which is writing and channeling, and some resources I have for you as well around that. One of the things I offer is a soul blueprint session, and we look at your human design, your astrology, your numerology, to help orientate you on your soul path, and also to understand what challenges you might be facing, and also what gifts you have to share with the world, so you can feel inspired and encouraged to go for it and share your wisdom, your unique insights, and your magic with the world that so desperately needs it, as people begin to lose their jobs from AI, as more conflicts blow up, as there is more disparity in income levels, there is difficulty around kind of creeping totalitarian agendas through the WEF and other organizations, which do seem intent on curbing civil liberties and also freedoms, as well as navigate whatever psychological operations are happening in real time. We had we had the pandemic, and we have other new things emerging and unfolding, right? Like the avian flu or whatever else they're throwing at us, coming down the pipeline, whether it's cyber attack or it's power outages, whether it's natural disasters, all of these things, which do seem more and more to be created and manipulated to affect humanity in a evidently negative way to keep us dumbed down and small and in fear. And fear is probably the most powerful way to control people. So if you just look at the headlines, right, there's so much fear porn going on there. And yeah, of course, you can say intellectually, well, Jody, the media gets its viewings and its ratings through these negative headlines. But what if there was more to it? What if the sharing negative information, putting us in fear, was also a way to keep us in a low frequency? What does keeping us in a low frequency mean, or what is the benefit of being kept in a low frequency? Well, it's definitely not beneficial to you, to me. But perhaps it is beneficial to the powers that were, or the powers that be, so that you are in fight or flight mode, that we are with a dysregulated nervous system, and then we keep on consuming and obeying. And my suggestion, my invitation is to, in fact, be independent, be uncontrollable, and be sovereign, and to speak your truth and let your light shine, share your gifts with the world, and be who we really are, right? In all our authenticity, vulnerability, and raw, real, messy truth. And just, show up as we are. And soon enough, we find when we do that, that others also feel empowered and encouraged to do so. Not only encouraged, but emboldened. And then the more of us that are doing that, we begin to peel back the veil and deconstruct the lie, right? That we are these insignificant ants, and perhaps actually, in fact, there is a war going on our consciousness, and that we are in fact very valuable, and we hold so much treasure inside us, in our DNA, in our consciousness, and in our light. And the more that we allow ourselves and give ourselves permission to shine our light and be who we really are, then the less controlled we can be, and also the more powerful we actually are. The more our light shines, and the more that affects the global field of consciousness, the more that affects the collective, the more that affects people that we know, others that we know, who may be thinking similar thoughts, but may be afraid to share them, right? Due to fear of ridicule. The more I talk about all of this stuff myself in my own life as well as online, the more people come out of the woodwork and say, wow, Jody, yeah, well, actually, this has been going on for me, or I've actually been on an awakening journey myself, or my brother is, or my sister is, or something, that you would never suspect. But when you share bravely and in authenticity, then others will respond to that. And that's what I find again and again and again, that there is just this beautiful resonance that happens as we share our truth. Wow, I didn't have anyone else to speak to about. I don't know who to talk to about this. At work, I'm afraid of being ridiculed, or at my institution, or in my family. And then we start to see that others are the same. More and more of us are actually the same, that we've had awakenings, that we're questioning the narrative, that we're thinking for ourselves, and that we don't buy what is being sold to us. And this is an invitation to you to be that light, to be that change, and not to buy what is being sold to you. Now, one of the beautiful things that we have is the gift of channeling. And it's something I believe that all of us can do. We can all channel. And I taught a course online a couple of years ago, and also led a retreat for activating our channel. I'm happy to do that again for anyone who wants it. Just reach out to me and tell me. Right? Maybe, you want to organize something for your community or for your people. My channel opened around 5 or 6 years ago, and it was astonishing really to experience the opening up of my channel and realize, wow, I actually, and we all do really, have access to infinite intelligence and infinite wisdom in any given moment. And so it's actually much bigger than just channeling. It's opening our full faculties, our multidimensional selves and senses, so that we can open and grow and cultivate skills like telepathy, healing abilities, and really have just so much more coherence and deeper communication and more harmony in our reality, in our lives. And I'm very much about that. But yeah, I've just noticed that the camera is being the light rather I have is blocking the camera. There we go. So definitely not perfect, right? But yeah, it's my philosophy is just just go for it, just go for it, and then you'll figure it out as you go along. And the more we take action towards the thing, right, then we learn, right, and then we can adjust and improve, right. And that's the classic self-development thing, like Tony Robbins goes on and on about it, Anthony Robbins, that the secret, it really is taking massive action, and we step out of the inertia of overthinking and overwhelm and overanalysis, and we just start moving forward. And in this case, it is bold, messy action which gets us out of the quagmire, however that might be. And one of those things for me has been writing a book, and now I'm assisting others in writing theirs. And what I've discovered, which is so beautiful, is that we all have a book inside us, and if we can tune in to the essence of that book and the core message that it has through opening up to our higher self and downloading what I call our soul code, which is our innate wisdom, the medicine that we hold, and also the journey we've been on and the initiations that we've lived through, then when we share them and own them, it becomes a wonderful invitation for others to have breakthroughs and experience their own expansion when they've been living in fear, doubt, worry, when they've had difficulties, right? When I've had difficulties myself, for example, and lived through them and lived to tell the tale, and I've risen. I've been through the dark nights of the soul, but then I've gone through that, and I've had my initiation, and I've learned, and I've grown, and I've expanded. Then I've come to a new place and a new perception, a new understanding, and more happiness comes from that. More peace comes from that, because we're building on our own inner resource and experiencing our own power to choose and to act, which is a fundamental reframe of our reality from how we may have been conditioned and programmed through parenting and schooling and ancestral patterns. And so then we get to perceive reality in a whole new way and have so much more clarity. And from that new clarity, we can make new choices and take new actions which are more aligned with who we are, which bring us greater fulfillment and joy, and activate others, activate the collective. So you sharing your medicine and your light is a wonderful act of love and kindness. And so I've developed this methodology called Writing from Spirit, which is a combination, a crystallization, if you will, of the work I've done to really easily and effortlessly access our own inner treasure through our higher self and soul, and share it in the form of a book or perhaps a course or something else that really has a transformational effect on ourselves in the sharing of it, and also an impact, transformational and expansive, for others who come into contact with it, with the material, whether that's a book or a course or something else. And it's mind-blowing. It's totally mind-blowing. And I'm running one right now called Writing from Spirit. Just done. We're in week 3. And it's beautiful to see the shifts and the expansions happening in the participants. And so I'm also running another one starting in June, going through to July, which is open for registration as well. And you're welcome to ask me more about that, and I'll send you the details. And will you have finished your book in 6 weeks? I don't know. It's up to you. It's your choice. I wrote a book in 4 weeks. The first book I wrote, the second book took me more time than that, but it's entirely possible. But you'll never know unless you take action. And so many of us suffer from paralysis, from overwhelm, freezing, procrastination. Will it be good enough? It's not enough. What if I'm too much? What if people don't like what I have? Imposter syndrome, etc. And so we're working through all of that to really break through and actually just let go of the mind and the inner critic and allow this truth to flow from within us and from our own higher self. It's so powerful and empowering. And yeah, breakthroughs happen. And your breakdown that you may have been experiencing can become a breakthrough. And that breakthrough can then be something that touches others and lights them up and brings them value and treasure, such untold treasure. And you may just find that your life changes forever if you commit to that and if you let go of having to have it all worked out, perfectionism, and also the kind of psychological constipation that we have of like holding it all in, because it's not perfect. And that usually comes from some kind of early childhood trauma. So my invitation to you, whatever you do, whatever you take away from this video, is to go for it. Whatever it is, to go for it, to take that action, to start that thing, to live your dream. Because if not now, then when? But I'm not ready, that whole story. Well, you're always ready, but you're never ready. I believe you are ready. I believe we're all ready. Now is the time. And the shift is happening. And we can either embrace it or we can fight it. And what fighting does is it causes stuckness and misery and suffering. And ain't nobody got time for that. So my invitation is to let go of that resistance, to be visible, to share your truth, to say yes to yourself and take that action, that aligned action. Because the shift is happening and the world is going to be a very different place 2-3 years from now. It's going to be so many shifts. We're really in the time of massive shift. There may be some particularly noticeable things that happen. It may not all just be internal and consciousness. There may be external stuff. Could well be a lot of external stuff, let's say, that is taking place over the next 2 to 3 years. Certainly the Mayan calendar seems to point that way, and other prophecies and predictions. And of course, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, as they say, as we say in Britain, and you'll see. But why resist? Why not just actually move? Why not let that impulse arise within you that wants to come out? And if that's writing a book, then great. And if that's working with me, then great. I also work one-on-one with others for embodiment of soul purpose, for navigating spiritual awakening, and for that authentic self-expression. And also for writing your book as well, coaching you on your author journey. Helping you build your confidence and your unique voice. Also, got a retreat coming up in Glastonbury in September. So if you're interested in that, it's basically illuminating the love leader within, what's not to love. So if you'd like info on that, please just comment or message me, as for all what I've just mentioned. And then also you can just come into my Facebook group, and that's free in there. So you can just come in there and hang out there and receive what I'm imparting. You can pick up what I'm putting down. And, maybe none of that is resonant to you, and that's totally fine. Just go on your path, choose you, and allow your light to shine, because you have so much light within you that wants to shine, believe me. And I see it again and again with all the people I've worked through, with the clients, with the students, just waiting to give ourselves permission. There's no one else out there who can give you that permission but you. So that's my invitation, is to love yourself and give yourself that permission to shift. And yeah, perhaps we can, come together in community and togetherness and do this together. It's much easier. You don't have to do it all on your own, right? And that's one of the lies that we may have been told and sold, is that you've got to do it on your own, right? You've got to figure it all out on your own. And I was there for many years trying to figure it out all on my own. And it's a hard place. It's a suffering place. There is help out there. There is community out there. There is encouragement out there. There are others just like you out there. We're all in the same boat, actually. So that is the invitation, to love yourself genuinely and unconditionally. And give yourself the permission to be who you really are, shine your light, to put yourself first, to choose you, to be self-loving and self-caring and self-nurturing. Because you can't lead from an empty tank. You've got to have your own cup full. It's just the way things are. And a great way to do that is to meditate to begin with, and to connect with the body and with your heart. And, heart, heart, and head aligned is very empowering. It's extremely empowering. So the more we look within and less we look without, and to these, news sources like the BBC and CNN and ABC, which are just, they're such a distraction. They're trying to lead you away from your inner knowing and your inner self. And, whether the people in those organizations know it or not themselves, that's what they're involved in. And they may be unwitting, witting accomplices in it, or they may, to some extent, know what they're doing, but, tell themselves a lie, which is, I need the money, whatever, this is a prestigious organization, I've got, I'm getting the pension, and get taken care of. I'm doing what I can. It's not the best ever, I know, and we do, manipulate a little bit, and but as I said, it's one of those things, like, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. The society collective is turning away from these sources of news anyway. It's just happening, right? YouTube, for example, is growing exponentially, and so are other platforms like Rumble, etc., for alternative viewpoints, because we're hungry for them, right? We need to make sense of what's going on, and we're not getting that sense from the mainstream media. It's just not happening. And the more we wake up, the more obvious the lies are, and the manipulations are, and the distortions are. So the invitation again is to look within, and from this place of inner knowing and gnosis, to shine your light and to share your magic with the world. What are you waiting for, right? And as I said, one way to do this is to create your own content, write your own book, and make your own videos. Do things like what I'm doing right now. And if you need help with any of that, then, get help, right? Because many of us have lacked confidence, self-confidence. And so get some support, get some help, get some community, get some mentoring and some coaching, like I've done so many times for myself and continue to do, and allow your light to shine. Because again, we can't do it on our own. We're social beings. We are social beings. We have voices. We have ears. Yeah? We have them for a reason, to communicate and to interact. And in that interaction, we grow and we learn. And the more we can do that and live authentically with, word, thought, and deed in alignment, then the easier life gets, the more harmonic we become. And with the sun doing its thing, sharing its light with us, we're getting activated. Our DNA is getting activated. Things are happening that we can't even explain. We don't have the language or even the science to explain. The magic is unfolding, and it's getting bigger and bigger. And so you can embrace it, right? And it gets easier, and the suffering gets less, or you can resist it, right? Default back to the conditioning, and that's a suffering place in my experience. But it's, recognizing that you are suffering is part of the thing, because so many seem to be addicted to the suffering, because that's their neurochemistry is almost in that cycle feedback loop of this kind of dysregulation, because that's what feels like home, because that's what your home was like when you were a child, and what school was like. It's a dysregulating place, and so it feels like home, feels familiar. And I'm here to tell you that it's familiar misery, and you get to choose to step out of that. You get to choose to love yourself. You get to choose to be vulnerable and transparent and courageous and authentic, and share who you really are. And, some of the most life-changing things have been books that I've read or courses that I've taken, which have been the expression from the soul of that person who created that thing, that's been life-changing to receive, so deeply impactful to receive. And so you get to do that too. And you also get to support others who do that, and you get to be supported by others who do that. You get to choose that. It's just magic. It's wonderful. And so with the democratization of media and everything else, then we get more of these kinds of choices available to us, and we get to choose that more and more and more, which is a wonderful thing. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will call it a day. Yes, I'll just wait on here for a bit. But as I said, send me a message or comment on this if you would like info about anything that I've mentioned, or you'd just like some help, or you'd like to have a free call. I do these life accelerator and quantum visioning calls to help you really get clear and focused about what challenges you're facing right now, where you are in your life path, and also start to dream and vision what you want and start to move towards that. What kind of life do you actually really want to be having and experiencing, and move towards that, right? Clarity is power. And so I'm offering that as well. And yeah, just ask for that in the comments or DM me for it. Okay. And I also offer healings as well and various things. And I'll be doing some healings in the Golden Awakening group. So, and some collective kind of activations as well. So do join that. I'm going to be running a series of them over the coming days and weeks. Yes, blessings to you. Have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Remember, you are love itself. And don't be a stranger. Bye for now.